Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and now I am going to be finishing up my Resident Evil 2 playthrough with Leon. To this point, I've played through the game as Claire for Scenario 1, and Leon has been my Scenario 2 character, and this is going to be the very last episode of all those playthroughs. A lot has happened in this game, so there's a lot to cover, but I'm going to try and condense it down as much as I possibly can. So, Raccoon City was overrun with zombies. Our main characters, Leon and Claire, decided to go into the city not realizing the danger, and then they ended up getting stuck there and they had to take shelter within the police station. The thing is, they kind of arrived there at separate times. So, since we were playing as Leon, we have not really seen Claire pretty much the entire playthrough, with the exception of like one or two spots here and there. Now, there were no other survivors in the police station that were mention worthy, so Leon decided it was time to get out of there. And while exiting the police station, he ran to the companion character for his playthrough, Adawong. Now, as you play through the game, Ada reveals that Umbrella was responsible for the zombie outbreak, and it was all because of a virus, very specifically the G virus. And the journey for more information on the G virus led to our main characters going into the sewers in order to try and get some more info from a scientist for Umbrella. That scientist is Annettebirkin. Well, Annette proved to be more dangerous than every monster we've fought so far, considering she actually hurt our main characters quite a bit. Leon ended up getting shot in the shoulder, and Ada ended up almost getting taken out by a storage container, but fortunately for her, she got a lesser wound, which was a pipe in the leg, which could have hit a major artery, so lesser might be a relative term here. In any case, both of the main characters managed to survive, and following a fight with Annette Birkin's mutated husband, William, we were free to leave the sewers. And the direction we decided to go in was the direction of Umbrella's secret hidden lab underground. The name of that lab is Nest. We ended the previous episode with Leon and Ada agreeing that Leon will go forward by himself because Ada is injured to the point where she cannot walk. And we are beginning this episode by having Leon enter Nest in order to investigate it further, so let's go ahead and get started. And alright, now Leon has the wristband and he can go exploring Nest trying to find the G virus so that we can turn that over to the proper authorities and they can hopefully use it as evidence against Umbrella, possibly a way of making a vaccine of some kind for this virus. Just all good things.
For your safety, stand clear until the doors are fully open.
And yeah, Ada, thank you for the wristband, even though I don't really think you ever needed it to begin with, considering I think you could have opened all the same doors with the EMF visualizer, but I guess it doesn't hurt to have a backup plan.
Welcome to Nest. Enjoy your visit.
Okay. I wonder where the G virus is.
Well, thank you, automated voice of the Hidden Umbrella Lab Nest. I appreciate you encouraging me to enjoy my stay, although I don't think I'm going to be enjoying this visit all that much. Oh, who am I kidding? We're here to kill undead monsters, so yeah, I'm definitely going to be enjoying my visit. So yeah, now that we are here in Nest, here's how the sequence of events should unfold. If I were narrating every single document, we'd be figuring out that there are going to be different security clearance levels here in Nest. And those are going to be divided out based on your wristbands. Right now we are a level 1, so we're not going to have very much access to the Nest areas. In total, there are 4 security clearances, so we need to bump up ours by finding somebody else's wristband and taking the chip off of it. And whenever we search around, we end up finding a log that indicates there is a napping area somewhere in this introductory portion of Nest. And apparently people had to sign in and out of the napping area whenever using it. And after reviewing the logs, we end up finding out there is a Dr. Wayne Lee that did not sign out of the napping area after signing in, so he's probably still there, or at least his corpse is probably still there. And being a doctor sounds like it should be pretty important around here, so we're going to go find him and hope that he has a chip of a higher security clearance level. And then we're going to nick that off of him to upgrade our wristband. So with all that build-up out of the way, we are good to go ahead and try getting the wristband upgrade. First, I'll show you exactly where we need to end up going, which is an area that requires us to have at least a level 2 clearance. Beyond that locked door is going to be different sections of Nest that are going to allow us to hopefully find that G virus. But we can't go there yet, so I'm going to save and we're going to head to a cafeteria area that's right next to the napping area, and hopefully we can find a way to get to the napping area from there. Currently, part of the power is out, so everything is dark. There are a bunch of zombies in the cafeteria area, so I'm taking a very specific route to avoid them. Along the way, we're going to encounter a tank of fuel for our flamethrower, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. There are other things in the cafeteria, but honestly, they're not super important, so I would rather just dodge all the zombies, pick up the very conveniently placed flamethrower fuel, and then head on to the rafters and then try to find a way into the kitchen and then to the napping area. I don't remember offhand what the other items are, but I believe there's like some handgun ammo, which I guess in this scenario would be .45 caliber ammo. And maybe there's a green herb. I don't know, there might be more, but the flamethrower ammo is really the only thing I care about. And alright, I managed to take out the armored zombie really easily and without him managing to attack me and damage me, so that's great. That's really the only obstacle around here I was concerned about. He just has a nasty habit of popping up in the corners of that hallway where I'm not seeing him, and then he attacks me way more often than I care to admit. And with him being armored, pretty much the only vulnerability he's going to have to my handgun is getting shot in the head, and, well, I did that enough times to take him out. And in the napping area, it seems like Dr. Lee did not enjoy his nap very much because, at some point, I assume whenever this place lost power, the shutters closed. They closed down specifically on his arm, and it was an especially bloody affair, and it seems like he is pretty dead in there. Fortunately, the arm that got caught in the rafters happened to have the wristband on his wrist, and it is a level 2. So it looks like we're going to be robbing a corpse and then using that wristband to get to the rest of Nest. And while I'm making my way back to the front entrance area, this is probably a good time to point out that in Scenario 2, the item placement here in Nest is definitely different than it was back in Scenario 1. And momentarily, we are going to see a really obvious example of that, and it's going to start with a signal modulator item, which is a key item that's used to restore power at certain power panels all throughout Nest. It ends up getting 3 uses throughout the entirety of our time here. 2 of them are required, 1 of them is optional. The thing is, back in Scenario 1, we did not get the signal modulator as early as we do in Scenario 2. As soon as we go through that locked level 2 door that I made a point to show earlier, on the other side of it is going to be a USS Corpse, which is the Umbrella Secret Service. One of their members is outside of there, deceased, and he happens to have a tape recorder with a transcript on it, but he also has a signal modulator, something that definitely was not there back in Scenario 1. So since the item placement is a bit different here in Scenario 2, my pathing is also going to be different as well. So as soon as I get that signal modulator, I'm going to backtrack all the way to the napping area and restore power there. That way I can get the hip pouch that's hidden behind one of those shutters on one of the napping beds. And then I'll extend my inventory, get out of there, and press on to the rest of Nest. Overall, getting the signal modulator so much earlier means I should be able to get through Nest faster than I did with Claire back in Scenario 1, but we will see. And since I am not narrating things, I did not go over what was on that transcript for the tape recorder. But on there, the USS members end up revealing that the G-Virus is in the west area. And whenever we cross the bridge, that central point, we'll end up finding out that the west area is locked by a level 3 or higher clearance, so we are going to need to find another chip and upgrade our band to a level 3. But we'll sort that out once we cross the bridges and head to one of the other areas. And as I am sorting out the power panel situation here, I was almost surprised by there being something laying on the ground ready to attack me right outside the kitchen. The armored zombie was still alive, just chilling on the ground waiting for me to walk up on him, make that mistake again, and get attacked by him again. I swear, he does that kind of stuff way too often. Easily one of the zombies that most frequently catches me off guard, which is really funny because I'm expecting it, but somehow it still happens. And okay, I have everything I need now. Hi Dr. Lee, bye Dr. Lee. Everything is clear outside the kitchen, everything should be clear outside the cafeteria. And with that being said, now we are done doing everything that we need to do here in the main entrance area. We won't be returning here anymore. And now we get to check out the rest of Nest, including the area that changes this from being an Umbrella secret lab to being an offshoot of Little Shop of Horrors. There is a good chance if you are watching this video, you probably already know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, do not worry, you will be seeing it soon enough. And alright, the central elevator is going to require a level 4 clearance, the west area requires a level 3 clearance, that pretty much only leaves the east area, which fortunately only needs a level 2 clearance. So I guess we're going east. So overall, I feel like they upgraded the Umbrella Lab quite a bit whenever comparing the remake to the original game. Although as I am traversing this lab, I am realizing there are some enemy types that are just not in this lab and also just not in the game in general. And if I remember correctly, they were in the original. Like off the top of my head, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe there were some moth-related enemies and also some cockroach-related enemies in the original Resident Evil 2. Maybe it was the same enemy, but I do distinctly remember killing some kind of bugs. And one enemy that has been absent in this game is also absent in Resident Evil 3, and those are the zombie crows. Now, they were in the original trilogy and also the remake of the first Resident Evil game, but since then we have not seen them in either the remake of Resident Evil 2 or the remake of Resident Evil 3. And I find that kind of odd, but it also might be a good thing, considering the game doesn't let you auto-aim anymore, and a lot of the different areas are very dark already. I can only imagine how difficult it would be trying to hit a flying target in the dark, and with that flying target also having black feathers.
Jesus. What happened here?
And alright, that guy in the hazmat suit completely got destroyed by some sort of a plant, and he happens to have a wristband which seems to have a chip inside of it that will allow us to get the next level for our security clearance. But yeah, getting killed by a plant has given me some real Audrey 2 vibes from Little Shop of Horrors. I guess we could call this one Audrey 3. Then again, it's Plant 43, so we'll go with Audrey 43. But regardless of what we call it, we're going to be creating a special solution so that we can kill the plant, and then get the wristband upgrade that we need to get to level 3.
Dispensing solution now.
Well, okay, that didn't really work out, did it? I guess we're going to need to get more solution, and maybe that one didn't work specifically because it wasn't at a low enough temperature. We do end up finding a document that tells us that it needs to be at like a frozen or near frozen temperature to work, so that also probably could have been the problem. In any case, the plant is still alive. We do not want it to stay that way, so we're going on a run to get more solution. And inside this room is where we would normally get the solution, but the machine that disperses it for us, well, it is locked up. And the code to unlock this machine is at the very top of the machine, but unfortunately it's partially rubbed out to where I can't read it, so that's not going to work out. We're going to need to find another way to get that code. And also in the Greenhouse of Doom, there's a hatch that we can unlock as well to access a new part of the lab. The code to open up the hatch is on top of the door. I recommend just running by it, taking a quick look at it, getting a screenshot, or possibly just recording the last few seconds of your gameplay, and then running to safety and then just reviewing what you recorded or the screenshot you took instead of trying to memorize that with all the plant people trying to kill you. And down that hatch is where we need to go in order to find something that has the code on it that we're going to be able to use to unlock the solution dispersal machine. So yeah, it's time to start running around a bunch of plant people trying to kill us. I guess that isn't really all that much more crazy than anything else that's been happening to us so far. So I quickly paused the game so I could check my recording and see what the code was. And the best description I could give of that code is the first symbol is the one with the underscore, the next one's a colon, the other one kind of looks like a capital E, kind of, and then the last symbol is 2 bars. We put that in and suddenly we have access to the hatch. But yeah, I know anyone watching this video really does not need me to describe those symbols, but I found myself thinking, if I did have to describe those to somebody, how would I even do it? Because it's not like they're numbers or letters, they're just random squiggles, really. And after that random thought, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to try and describe these and just see how badly I do, and, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Anyway, I'm trying to take my time getting around the plant people in the greenhouse. I have a lot of defensive items I can use for this situation, but I would like to try and avoid them and also save those items if I can. Ultimately, I managed to get by them without having to use any of my defensive items, and now I'm in another really dark area that I need to restore power to. And it is here that we're actually going to take out a few zombies because they're going to be on the ground just kind of docile, but if I turn the power back on, at that point they'll start to wake up, and I'd rather take them out in advance so I'm not cornered, and also so I'm not trying to dodge or kill them when something else pops up. And as I'm saying that, I realize I don't really kill a whole lot of the enemies in Nest. Like, I just avoid the plant people entirely because I can't really kill them, at least not to my knowledge. We also have to deal with some lickers at some point, which I can definitely kill them, but it's really not worth the effort. So my entire time in Nest is probably going to only account for me killing like maybe 5 zombies. And after that, it's just me taking out the final bosses. And I briefly ducked back into that utility room because I know once we restore the power and go to the other end of that hallway, the lickers, they should pop out of the ceiling. Although, I'm not sure if we were to make a bunch of noise and then they show up if they're already alerted to our presence, or if they're just completely oblivious from the point they come through the ceiling. And since I'm not really sure about that, I always go to that utility room, wait there for just a second so they reset and they're not really aware of me being there, if they're aware of me being there at all. That way I don't have to worry about the lickers whenever the time does come for them to pop out of the ceiling. So that could be a completely unnecessary step that does nothing to help you, but it is something that I always tend to do. But yeah, just know that it might be a waste of time, especially if it actually does not do anything. In fact, for this playthrough, it is definitely a waste of time because I don't even go to the liquor side of the hallway anyway, at least not at first. Instead, I go to the safe room to pick up some items, and that definitely would have reset the liquors if I needed them to be reset. So yeah, me going back to that utility room a moment ago was a completely unnecessary action. I just wasted a little bit of time, so don't be like me. Don't do that. Here in the storage room, the main thing I want to collect is some flamethrower fuel because I do have a good amount of it now, but the more I can get of it, the better it's going to be, considering it's still going to be useful for one more boss battle, and it's going to be my primary weapon in that fight. Other than that, I will be picking up some gunpowder in this room. I will be using that to make some more shotgun shells, and I'll probably stock up on a bunch of combat knives for whenever I do need to return to the greenhouse. That way I can stab my way through a bunch of plant people. But I probably should get back to the main reason we are down here to begin with. Now, the whole reason we came down here and restored power to this portion of the lab was because we wanted to gain access to the cryogenic lab, which was cut off because the power was cut off. So since that door would not open for us, we had to restore power. Power's back on. We can go in there now. And there is going to be a key item that holds the code that we are going to need in order to access the solution dispersal system. So long story short, we came down here, we restored the power, we're going to get that code, we're going to go get the solution, we're going to go ice that solution, and then we're going to use it to kill all the plants and get that wristband. Should be a pretty quick and simple process if I don't get too distracted. There are some other things I want to pick up around here, but there's not really too much more left to do, so I can't get that sidetracked. So my intent is to publish this video today, uploading it to YouTube and making it viewable. And whenever I do that, I like to watch the video over again before I do so to make sure I haven't missed something really bad or, problematic. Like maybe I forgot to record any sort of lines to go over the gameplay, and maybe I just waste a couple of minutes of just dead silence as a result of that. Well, that's exactly what happened here. I did not record any lines whatsoever for this little section of the game, telling myself I would come back to it later and fill it in. But I never did. Instead, we have about 2.5 minutes of dead silence. So here is me, day of the video being uploaded, just trying to voice over and explain what exactly happened. So right now, we are talking to modern Thor. Every other line in this video was recorded weeks ago. Not to worry though, I will let you know whenever past Thor is talking again. So I guess I can use this time to talk about a few of the developments that have happened since I recorded these lines back, a few weeks ago. Because a little bit has changed, or at the very least I have gotten a little bit further along in editing some of my videos. And at this point I have voiced over and edited the Ghost Survivor modes, as well as the Fourth Survivor mode. So all of those videos will be coming out the next few weeks. The Ghost Survivor modes are these alternate reality reimagined scenarios for people who died in the story mode. And the Fourth Survivor mode shows the canon survival of another character in this game, that being Hunk the USS agent. He was on the team trying to get the G-Virus, but all that does not go well, and he just manages to survive getting out of Raccoon City. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to check those out as they come out. On top of that, though, I do have all my footage ready for Resident Evil 3's remake. All I have to do is edit them and voice them over. So whenever I do complete my Resident Evil 2 videos, those should come out not too long afterwards. Right now, I'm currently editing the S+ rank playthroughs. Rather than breaking those up into individual episodes, I'm just showing the entire playthrough in one episode. So those are pretty lengthy and taking me a little bit of time to complete. So there may be a point in time whenever I stop uploading these weekly and I have to take a little bit more time for this S+ rank videos. And I'm reaching the point whenever the silence ends, so I'll go ahead and stop here and let the past Thor start talking once more. Alright, now it is time to add this substance to the cartridge that we're going to be using to kill Plant 43. And there might be a more efficient way of going about this pattern, but whenever it comes to filling up that cartridge, red, green, blue, red, green, blue, red, green, red, blue, green, blue, red, green. And I just realized if anyone is colorblind, that's not really going to help them out very much. So let me do this instead. I have added numbers underneath each of the buttons, and with those numbers, the pattern is going to be 213, 213, 212, 313, 21. Hopefully that's a little bit more helpful, and now I think I'm going to go back and do the same thing for Claire's playthrough. I've already voiced that one over a long time ago, but I have not published the video yet, so it's not too late to get that added. Now that we have the solution, we are entering a part of the game where it's going to be a bunch of backtracking. Starting off with backtracking back to the cryo lab so that we can cool down the solution, and then backtracking all the way back to the solution dispersal machine. And because of that, this seems like the ideal time to go down a rabbit hole. Now, earlier in this playthrough, I said one of my favorite voice acting performances in this game happened to be for Kendo. Even though he's not in the game very long, whoever was voicing that character did a really good job. So I went ahead and tried to look up who that voice actor was, but oddly enough here in Resident Evil 2, there was not a credit for the voice actor for Kendo. So I had to go onto IMDb and kind of look this up and try to figure out who it was. Now, despite being uncredited, it looks like someone named Ken Lally was the one who voiced Kendo both in Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. And unfortunately, he passed away back in 2023, so that's a bit of a bummer. Went ahead and looked up all the things that he's done to see if there's anything else I might know him for. And it looks like he's had a bunch of small voice acting roles for video games, but one that stood out to me is a game that I have done on this channel already. That's Mortal Kombat 9. Turns out he voiced Smoke, Goro, and Shinnok in that game, which is kind of cool. Did not realize he had contributed to something I've already played through on this channel. Now, whenever it comes to the character Smoke in Mortal Kombat, he has kind of an overused line, and to quote it, it is, "Where there is smoke, there is fire." And it's overused now, but I'm pretty sure he was the first voice actor to actually say that in Mortal Kombat 9, so it's a little bit of a tribute to the person who voiced Smoke as well as Kendo in this game. Where there is smoke, there is fire. So yeah, thank you for the good performance. It is cool while getting to do videos for this channel that I covered characters in 2 different games that you got to do the voice acting for, and I just really enjoyed the performances. And after looking him up, I went ahead and took a look at the work of the rest of the cast. That's something I kind of like to do to see what else they may have been in that I have played or watched before, or who has done some really random crap that I just think is kind of funny. So I also thought the voice actor for Chief Irons did a pretty good job, but whenever trying to look him up, it doesn't really show a whole lot of his other work. Like Resident Evil 2 is the only thing that he's listed as being known for, so not a whole lot there. That voice actor was listed as Sid Carton. I don't know if that's correct since there's nothing else on this individual, but yeah. On the funnier side of things, we have the voice actor for Leon. Now, I may mispronounce his last name, but it looks like his name is Nick Apostolates. I'm definitely just going to go ahead and say Nick going forward. Yeah, the voice actor for Leon went on to reprise the role in Resident Evil 4, since I guess he did a pretty good job in this, so why not? But besides that, he also did some motion capture work, apparently, for Madden 2021. It's kind of random. I think that's funny. But what's really funny is that this is not the first zombie-related thing that he has worked on. So yeah, I'm scrolling really deep down into the things that he has acted in some way or another. And apparently he was in some live-action movie by the title of Night of the Naked Dead, which is a coin flip of either going to be an adult film or a really low-budget schlocky horror film. And after reading the description and looking at the genre labels, it looks like we have a schlocky, low-budget horror film. Actually, the more I'm looking into this, I'm not even sure this is a zombie film. Although with a title like Night of the Naked Dead, it seems like it should be a zombie parody of some kind, but I'm not convinced. I might be wrong about that. So yeah, our friend Nick went from being in Night of the Naked Dead to voicing the main character of Resident Evil 2 and 4, so I'd say he's moved up in the world. Although I think I need a Blu-ray copy of Night of the Naked Dead just in case I ever meet Nick at like some video game convention or something like that, because I definitely want an autograph for this. I show up and I'm just like, "Hey man, I'm a really big fan." He's like, "Oh, you really like Resident Evil?" "Yes. But also, I find your early work absolutely hilarious. Can you please sign this?" So yeah, that would definitely be a random trophy in my collection of just random video game and movie memorabilia, junk, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, back to the rabbit hole of voice acting. Even though he really doesn't have a whole lot of speaking roles, the voice actor for William Birkin, that's going to be Terrence Ratallo, and it looks like voice acting is not really the main thing he's been doing throughout his career. It seems like he's mostly known for his stunt work. Like in the early 2000s, he did a bunch of stunt work on a bunch of films for like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, those films being like The Scorpion King and The Rundown. Although he is credited as also having voiced Frank West in Dead Rising, which is awesome. So I guess Capcom was already familiar with him and was like, "Hey, you want to be William Birkin? I mean, yeah, you were the protagonist killing off all the zombies in the previous thing you did for us, but now we want you to be the main big bad zombie of this game." And as I went through the cast, I'd have to say the person with the most decorated career is probably going to be the voice actress for Annette-Birkin. Now, the voice actress who did that is going to be Karen Strassman. I wasn't too familiar with her prior to looking up her filmography and things of that nature, but she has just been in an abundance of things. Like, there's a bunch of stuff on that list. Like, it's an incredibly long list. And a good amount of things that I have watched or played at some point in time. Like, she has been credited with a bunch of different video game voice acting roles. Some of the more noteworthy ones being like Rouge the Bat from the Sonic the Hedgehog games. She also apparently voiced Zack Fair's mother in Crisis Core, the Final Fantasy VII spin-off game that I've played quite a bit of. She ended up voicing Casca from the Berserk anime, which I'm not a big fan of the anime adaptation of that, but still, I like Berserk, so that's cool. Oh, and Karen Strassman also voiced the younger versions of Sarah's Victoria and Captain Bernadette in the Hellsing Ultimate anime series, which I think is awesome. I was a big fan of that at one point in time, so it's cool to see that she also contributed to that too. Oh, and Karen also voiced Katana and Melina in Mortal Kombat X, another game I've covered on this channel, so yeah, someone else from the Mortal Kombat roster also appeared in this game. And outside of anime and video games, she's done plenty of live action acting as well, so she's just had a really long and decorated career, and that's pretty cool. I will get back into the voice acting deep dive in just a moment. We went ahead and dispersed the solution and killed off Plant 43, or well, most of Plant 43. Unfortunately, the plant people are still alive, they're just knocked out for a moment. But that does give us just enough time to run up to the corpse that fell down out of the plants and pick up that level 3 clearance chip. So we get to upgrade our wristband, which means we're heading to the west area to try and get the G-Virus. But of course it won't be too easy after all the plant people get back up. And then there is an extremely annoying nuisance that follows us around again. Not to worry though, we're going to get out of here just fine. Anyway, off to the west area and back to the voice acting. Voice actor for Marvin is going to be someone named Christopher Michael Watson, which I thought he did a really good job as Marvin. I looked at his filmography, he's been in a decent amount of other things, just nothing that I have seen. But yeah, he did really good. Jolene Anderson ended up voicing Ada for this game, and it looks like she has been in quite a bit of stuff, just nothing I've seen. So kind of the same thing as the voice actor for Marvin. In fact, that's also pretty much going to be true for the voices of both Sherry and Claire, so yeah, unfortunately those four just don't really have any other roles I'm all that familiar with, even though I did enjoy their performances in this game. So yeah, overall the cast is kind of cool. Some of them really haven't been anything that I'm familiar with, some of them have been in other games I've played for the channel, and in the case of Nick, he might actually have the funniest role I've seen on here with Night of the Naked Dead, so all around, a pretty good rabbit hole to go down if you ever get bored looking up who the voice actors were for this game.
Hopefully the G-sample's up here.
And after a bunch of plant killing and a bunch of plant stabbing and a lot of running from Mr. X and just barely surviving encounters with lickers and just everything else you could possibly imagine, we are finally heading to the west area, we are going to be getting the G-Virus, and we are going to be sprinting our way to the finale of this game. I'm not exactly sure what the final time is going to be for all these videos, but I think if we add them all together, it's going to be like 8.5 hours worth of footage. I might be able to cut some of that down, but man, it has been a lot. I've enjoyed voicing it over, but it has been quite time consuming. And while I am restoring power to this area, that way I can advance to the next area, I did find a videotape on one of the dead bodies. It was a body belonging to one of the USS members that had broken into the lab to go after William Birkin. If you saw my Claire playthrough, then you've already seen what's on that videotape, but once the power is restored, I'll go ahead and play it one more time, that way we can check it out just in case you skipped to the Leon part and you didn't watch the Claire part.
Got eyes on the G-Virus.
We're going in. Dr. Birkin, you'll come along with us quietly.
You think I didn't know you were coming? This is my life's work. I'm not handing over anything.
We have our orders, Dr. Birkin. I'll ask you one more time. Stop! Hold your fire! What the fuck were you thinking? Our orders were to bring him in alive. We're in, sir. But we had a snafu. Target resisted. We had to take him out. That's correct, sir. Roger that. Just the samples, then. Let's move.
So those were G-samples.
So yeah, nothing different about that video. We just confirmed that William Birkin, before he, got completely shot to hell and back by the USS, had samples of the G-Virus on him, and that's what they were after. So hopefully, if we find our way back to the area where he got shot, we can find maybe some leftover G-Virus. But yeah, William Birkin was trying to cut a deal with the US government and trying to get his research to them instead of Umbrella, especially since Umbrella was trying to steal his research from him essentially. And yeah, in the end, his efforts just led to him being a target by Umbrella, and now the entire city is mostly undead. So good job, William. And up ahead is where William Birkin was shot, so hopefully the G-Virus is still there, and we also get confirmation at this point that this is where Claire managed to beat us to this location, because she has already used the pendant from Sherry to open up the container with the virus and the antivirus in it.
Huh. That was easy. All right, now back to Ada.
Claire being here ahead of Leon made this very easy, so yeah, right place, right time. So all that is left is to prepare for what's going to come next, which means I have some inventory management ahead of me. And I don't know if I have mentioned this prior to now, but this long playthrough for both Claire and Leon were the very last times I played Resident Evil 2. All the S+ rank runs that I did through this game came prior to these long playthroughs. So I didn't really touch the game again after this, and that's kind of relevant here for the inventory management part, because I only realized after this that you could automatically sort your inventory in these storage boxes. So a lot of the time that I've been wasting just scrolling through a bunch of unorganized items in these storage boxes could have been mitigated really easily had I just realized I could automatically sort them. Like, I think I realized that after I picked up the game and went back into the playthrough as Claire to pick up one of the documents I missed the first time around. That way I could narrate that and add it to the video. And then once I realized that, it was just very unfortunate. 'Cause I'm like realizing in that moment how much time I could have saved whenever it came to just scrolling through these storage boxes, because I feel like it was a lot. But fortunately, as we are reaching the end of the game with Leon, there are not going to be too many more instances of me going into storage boxes and looking for items and wasting a bunch of time that way, so at least we are almost done. But I figured I'd point that out because I definitely waste a lot of time doing this that I might have been able to kind of cut out. Actually, I guess I could have just cut it out entirely, but I figured it'd be good to show me actually managing the items and making the decisions on what to leave behind and what to take with me, because that is a big part of the game. Well, alright, a gigantically open area with nothing around. I'm getting a good feeling here. I think good things are gonna happen.
He's mine! This has to end.
What the hell's going on?
Sorry, William. You left me no choice.
You called this thing William. Why?
It shouldn't have been like this. It's Umbrella's fault, this whole mess.
You're Umbrella too. You're telling me you weren't involved in this?
Yes. But we never meant for this to happen.
Then tell me everything. Right from the start.
You don't get away that easily.
Good God, William. What have you done?
So you made this monster.
We made the G-Virus, but we never intended
You can
this
spin it any way you want. You're still responsible. What the hell? Oh, shit. What are you doing?
We can't let him get away!
afraid this is the fight where the flamethrower for Leon is the most important. Granted, it also came in handy against the Stage 2 version of William, but here with Stage 3 is where I would consider it the most important. Like with Stage 2, you can get kind of lucky with just using the Magnum or playing a game of Frogger with that storage container. But here we don't really have an environmental way of taking William down like that, so we have to rely entirely on our weaponry, and the flamethrower is going to do the best amount of damage with that damage over time. So with Leon, I'll pretty much exclusively use the flamethrower in this fight. And generally speaking, that's going to be plenty to get this fight over with. It is kind of rare whenever I have to break out another weapon. And with the next two boss battles, the flamethrower is not useless, but it kind of is a little bit useless. So my recommendation is save your bullets on every other gun, which is going to be much more useful personally speaking, and just burn William as much as humanly possible. And if you're having some trouble with this version of William, generally speaking, every single one of his attacks are dodgeable if you just run to his left side. Well, your left. I guess it's technically his right side. Anyway, run to the left. That should allow you to dodge a lot of his attacks. And also, hey, it's Annette. We got to see her a moment ago, and this kind of throws into question which of the events is actually canon, because clearly Claire has already been here because she has already opened up the container with the G virus in it, and she used Sherry's pendant to do that, but that would also mean that she has already probably gone to Sherry to give her the antivirus, which we recall that Annette was finally the one who did give that antivirus to Sherry, so you would think that she would be there, but instead she's here, So I guess we're going to pretend like Annette did give Sherry the antivirus, but then passed out. And because Sherry and Claire are apparently terrible at checking if somebody is dead, it turned out Annette was still alive and she decided to come all the way back here. And alright, William Birkin is down. So now we're just going to go ahead and collect a few items around here and then go talk to Annette again since she decided to rise up from the dead and head over here and do this whole encounter with William again. And then Annette still has to do something super important here in a moment, which means that she can't actually be dead yet, so this is like the one area where with Annette the continuity of this game is a little finicky. Piece it together however you want. But regardless of the character you choose or which scenario you choose for them, there's pretty much no combination where by the time you were done with being a nest, that Annette somehow fits perfectly into all the events. No matter what, the order doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You get the general idea of what happened, but it's not a perfect sequence by any means. So you kind of just have to pick and choose what events happen and which ones kind of should be skipped or just ignored. Otherwise, Annette dies and comes back to life quite a few times in this game.
Bad.
Feels worse. Believe me.
Talk about what you said. I don't know how much I believe.
Just tell me you'll destroy that G sample.
No, it's evidence. It's going to the FBI.
You trust that bitch?
What's that supposed to mean?
She's not FBI. She's a mercenary. She's gonna sell it. The G-Virus is gonna go to the highest bidder.
That's bullshit.
I hope you're right. But if the G-Virus gets into the wrong hands...
So okay, the last thing Annette tells us is that Ada is a spy, which is a plot line that they wait a really long time to introduce here in the remake. Back in the original, it was introduced a lot earlier on in the game. So let's go see for ourselves. Has Ada been exactly who she said she was, or has she been a spy the entire time?
Attention. Self-destruct.
I was just thinking about you.
makes two of us. I was getting worried.
No, we make a good team. I gotta ask you something.
Way's clear. Please, tell me you got it.
Oh, I got it.
Let me verify the G sample and we get the hell out of here.
Before we do that, I ran into Annette. She claims you're not FBI.
Oh, Leon. Why couldn't you just hand over the sample?
As I realized, as much as I wanted to trust you, I didn't.
I really hoped it wouldn't end up like this.
So that's all this was. I was just some pawn to you,
Look, I'm just doing my job.
and I'm doing mine, so drop that damn gun! I'm taking you in.
Hand over the sample, Leon. I don't want to hurt you.
And you shoot me. But I don't think you can.
No one gets that sample now.
Hold on. I think I can...
Forget it.
Shut up, I've got you.
It's not worth it.
Don't do this.
Take care of yourself, Leon.
No!
This is a very sentimental moment and everything, but I need to point this out now before we go any further. I'm just saying I 100% called it back during Ada's segment of the game. During that segment, the entire time Ada had to go find a wristband was completely pointless because she definitely could have hacked the door with her EMF reader at any point in time. The confirmation is here, now moving on. So yeah, Ada turned out to be a spy. In fact, this is something that they set up in the very first Resident Evil as well, because there was a plot line that they abandoned in this remake where Ada was dating someone named John, a researcher for Umbrella, and using him as a way of getting information on Umbrella and the viruses they were working on. The thing is, it's hinted at that John died at the Spencer mansion, so Ada would need to get research or possibly virus samples another way. And Annette even calls out Ada on this exact relationship in the original Resident Evil 2. So yeah, while we do not know exactly who Ada was working for, she has been trying to get information on Umbrella and their viruses for a pretty long time. And it was kind of cool to see them follow up on that document from the original Resident Evil with this revelation that Ada was a spy. I thought that was a pretty good way of building on what you established in your previous game, so yeah, I like that detail quite a bit.
Who's that? Claire!
Leon? You're down here too!
Yeah, but the whole place is coming down. Listen to me. You need to get out. Fast.
Yeah. There's a way out. We can make it. Where are you now?
Claire, are you still there?
Leon? Hey, Leon, you're breaking up.
Forget about me. Just get out of here. Damn it!
9 minutes until detonation.
And alright, it is time for our mad dash to the exit. We have to make it all the way to the bottom of the Nest laboratory in order to reach the train that Sherry and Claire are on. They are a pretty good ways ahead of me at this point, so I have a lot of ground to cover. Fortunately for me, Claire ends up having to fight the Stage 4 version of William Birkin, so that should buy me a little bit of time to catch up. And on that note, we're not going to be fighting Stage 4 William Birkin with Leon. He gets a different boss. And I need to inventory manage before facing off against that final boss. Well, since this is Scenario 2, that's not actually going to be the final boss, but if this were Scenario 1, it would be, so there's that. Now, this is also the reason why I picked Leon for Scenario 2. This next boss battle, which would have been Leon's final boss battle if this was Scenario 1, it really is not important how much damage you do to that boss. Instead, the battle is much more about how long can you stay alive. Damage does play a factor, but you are not going to be able to defeat the boss with just damage alone. You have to survive for a set amount of time. How long you have to survive really depends on how much damage you do to him. Now, whenever I researched this, there was some sort of a formula to it. Depending on how much damage you do to the boss is how long you have to wait. The more damage you do, the shorter amount of time you have to wait to win. So you do want to do damage to him, but you're not going to beat him with the damage alone. And that being said, that meant with Leon I could save as much ammo as possible for the actual final boss for Scenario 2. I just had to survive the boss before that, and wait out that timer.
8 minutes until detonation.
It's just a fucking joke!
If I do manage to do that, the final boss for Scenario 2 is laughably easy, so Leon is definitely the choice for Scenario 2, pretty much for this exact reason, just because of the final bosses he faces. There's just really good symmetry when it comes to having the right items at the right time for those final bosses with Leon.
Gotta keep going!
Okay, time to stop at the final storage box before we face off against the next boss. It's going to be a short stop though, so don't worry. Really, the only thing that I want for the final boss, I want grenades, I want flash grenades, and I want a little bit of shotgun ammo for one specific situation, which I will be calling out whenever we get there. So let's go ahead and get to those final battles.
Use the central elevator to evacuate immediately to the...
Okay, it's finally time for revenge for all those concussion-inducing punches back at the police station. We're taking down Mr. X. So as the fight begins, he's immediately going to do a Mr. X roar, at least that's what I'm going to call it, and that leaves him open to you shooting him a bunch of times with a shotgun. Eventually, one of those shots is going to stagger him, and at that point, I want to run away. And that's exactly what we're looking for, staggers. We want to stagger Mr. X 3 times. So immediately after using the shotgun, I switch over to a grenade. I toss the grenade at him. As he starts approaching me, the grenade will blow up, it will stagger him again. And then I will basically do the same thing over and over again. Get some distance, and then grenade. Get some more distance, and then grenade. I will do that until I have 1 grenade remaining. And then I will switch to the flash grenades. Because after 3 staggers, all I want to do is stall for time. And I'll even check the amount of time it took me in this scenario, but after 3 staggers, that's as much time as you can reduce before you get the item that you're going to need in order to defeat Mr. X. So after 3 staggers, It's really just about surviving and keeping your distance away from him, which the grenades are pretty useful for, both the hand grenades and the flash grenades. And okay, something important is coming up. What you really need to look out for, because if you're not looking for it, it will screw you over, is whenever Mr. X does his little Mr. X roar. That means he's about to do his ultimate attack, his one-hit KO. What you need to do is whenever he's doing his roar, or whenever he starts to charge at you after the roar, you need to be shooting his heart. That will save you from the ultimate attack. But we have a rocket launcher now, let's end this. So thank you, Ada, for the gift after your fake death. That definitely came in handy, and after having staggered Mr. X 3 times, it took us about 90 seconds to get the rocket launcher. So you need to survive somewhere between 60 and 90 seconds, and then you get the rocket launcher, which is the only way to beat Mr. X. After that, I used my last grenade on those zombies, and I'm saving the last 2 rockets for the rocket launcher.
Shit! Gotta get out of here. Can't believe I actually miss her.
Leon?
We made it.
Just like I said we would.
Who's this?
This is Sherry.
Okay. Jesus.
What was that?
I don't know. I'll go. You take care of Sherry.
And now it is time to face off against the true final boss of the game. Here in Scenario 2, I finally have that opportunity. And with Leon, I have 2 rockets with a rocket launcher, I have a bunch of shotgun shells, and I'm about to make a bunch of magnum ammo. Needless to say, this thing is going to go away pretty easily with that much firepower, so this is going to be a glorified cutscene. And for this final battle, I've never found myself in a situation where I needed a healing item. I'm taking them with me anyway, but most likely you're not going to need to heal during this boss battle. Kind of like with the alligator, actually, you either win or you die. There's not really anything in between, and there's not really any taking damage without dying. But this is going to be far from an unfair fight. As long as you prepared and brought enough ammunition, you're going to do just fine. Which, yeah, I definitely have overkill amounts of ammunition, especially with that rocket launcher. And really what I want to do with that rocket launcher is wait till the very last possible moment against this boss, and that's when I break it out and I start shooting away with those rockets. Because with your back against the wall and the enemy as close as possible to you, yeah, you're the most vulnerable that you're going to be, but that's also going to be true for that boss. So yeah, rocket launcher the crap out of it at the very last moment. And until that last moment, shoot it with everything else that you have.
You got a problem with death? You want more bullets? Be my guest. Come on! Want some more?
here is the moment. William version 5 has his eye open, and that's the most vulnerable he's going to be.
We've got to lose that car!
Come on! Fuck you!
Leon, give me your hand!
So, are you guys like boyfriend and girlfriend?
No, we're just. Oh, we actually just met last night.
Yeah. That would have been one hell of a first date, though.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Look! He might be able to give us a ride.
What if it's not just the city?
Get Sherry out of here.
Come on.
Hey, that was Live Another Day by the great.
He was friendly.
So, is it over?
I don't know. But if it's not, we'll stop it. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, you damn right we will.
As long as we stick together, we'll be fine. Come on.
Hey, you guys can adopt me.
Adopt you.
We can get a puppy
Puppy.
and a parrot.
And I'm going to go ahead and cut off the music right now since there is some sort of music playing in the background by somebody I'm not familiar with, and I just don't really want to mess around with that. But yeah, that is going to be the conclusion to the remake of Resident Evil 2. Claire, Leon, and Sherry all managed to survive this event. Ada does survive, but she is believed to be dead, so yeah, they just don't really count her among the survivors. There is also one more, a fourth survivor, but we will get to that whenever I play through the fourth survivor mode, so yeah. For the main story, that is going to be the conclusion. Now, I do find one line at the very end there kind of interesting. Now, whenever Claire goes, that would have been one hell of a first date, Leon is just like, you have no idea. And I always thought that was kind of weird because, like, wouldn't she have an idea? I mean, she is the one who said it and she's been here the entire time. But then I remembered to myself, oh yeah, at no point in the story does Claire ever meet Ada. So she does not know about any of those interactions or Leon's encounter with her. So yeah, for Leon, I guess the first date really would have been with Ada because Claire's barely around for most of the story if he plays Leon. Anyway, just a random observation. At first, that line seemed like it was a little bit out of place, but then upon reflection, I'm like, you know what? No, that actually does fit. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let the credits roll in the background. That way, everyone involved with the making of this video game gets all the credit that they deserve. After all, I've spent a very good amount of time enjoying this game, and it seems like it'd be kind of screwed up not to go ahead and just let those roll and allow them to get some kind of credit. But yes, the remake of Resident Evil 2 is very good. I enjoyed this game a lot. Like, this is easily one of my favorite games that I have played in a long time. Like, I don't really know what my favorite game is offhand, but I would say by default, maybe I would just go with, I guess I would go with Bloodborne. Like, I really enjoy Bloodborne. And I don't think it dethrones that by any means, but this is definitely up there. I really enjoyed this, which was kind of surprising. I was not expecting to like a remake this much. But no, this was just a genuinely fun game. I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of replayability with the different scenarios and bonus modes. Just all around, I had a great time playing this game. So I had a lot of high expectations going into the next game, Resident Evil 3 or its remake, and I will definitely get into the details about that game whenever we get to that game because there will be a playthrough of it as well. I already have all the footage for it. But my feelings are not as strong for Resident Evil 3 as they were for Resident Evil 2. This one is just definitely on a different level for me. But both of them are good, or else I would not be covering them on this channel. But we'll get to Resident Evil 3 whenever I'm actually playing through it. Let's just go ahead and focus on this. So whenever comparing the Claire playthrough and the Leon playthrough, there's really not a weak story in this game in my opinion. I do prefer Claire a little bit more, and that is largely because I like the Sherry storyline quite a bit. Like everything to do with her family, the abduction leading to you uncovering all the secrets about what was happening at the orphanage. I just thought all of that was really good, and I like her playthrough a little bit more because of it. Now, there's not anything wrong with the Ada storyline and her being a spy at the very end, but it kind of all does happen at the very end. There's not a great deal of build up to it, at least it doesn't feel like there is. So I just don't enjoy that one quite as much, although it is good. And then the surviving trio of main characters walks away into the sunset for a happy ending. Although Claire and Leon and Sherry, for that matter, will all return in future games. Claire ends up returning in Resident Evil Code Veronica. Leon returns a bunch of times for Resident Evil 4, 6. And I would not be surprised if he somehow found his way into another mainline numbered entry for Resident Evil. I just don't know of any. I just know of 4 and 6 offhand. And with Sherry, she actually becomes a playable character in Resident Evil 6 as well, although I'm not the biggest fan of Resident Evil 6, so that's kind of unfortunate because I think the creators of that game might have been onto something, taking her from her childhood and getting to see her growing up and facing the challenges of a world after all the viruses have been unleashed on the world. Yeah, I think that would have been a really cool storyline if they had done a little bit better with it. But we'll get to that whenever I get to Resident Evil 6, I suppose. But enough about the protagonists, though. Let's talk about the enemies. Now, for the common enemies, I think we got a really good variety in this game. The zombies are the best I have seen them throughout the entire series. The zombie dogs make a return. Lickers provide good jump scare moments, and they also constantly make you plan around them. The adult Gs can be a bit of a pain, especially considering how inconsistently they pop up in certain areas from underneath the water. They provide a good challenge, and they also bring the poison status ailment to the game. The plant people spawned by Plant 43 also got a big upgrade in this game, and they became instant kill machines late in the game. So overall, I feel like we have a good batch of common enemies. Then there are the boss battles. You have all the versions of William, Mr. X, and the alligator. Now every version of William brings its own challenge and forces you to learn how best to exploit the mechanics of that fight. None of the fights feel unfair, but many of them can be kind of hard until you figure out your strategy. Also, learning the green, red, blue herb mechanic really does help. I think William version 2 caused me the most problems just because I kept killing myself with the storage container. Besides that, I just stabbed version 1, flamethrower or used the grenade launcher and spark shot combo against version 3, minigun and grenade version 4, and use up all of my remaining heavy ammo on version 5. With Mr. X, he is a good stalker mechanic for most of the game, and he adds a good amount of stress to traveling through areas that would otherwise be safe or just not nearly as dangerous. He is not a true boss until the very end of the game in Leon's campaign, and he has a unique win mechanic behind him as well. Now, learning the strategy against him can take a moment, but he becomes really easy once you figure it out, especially with enough grenades. Then the alligator is the weakest boss of the bunch. You just have to go through a trial and error phase of figuring out which side of the sewer you need to run to, and after that, you're almost guaranteed to win. You don't really die in this fight unless it is your first time encountering the alligator or you just forgot the pattern. And the pattern never changes regardless of the scenario. You just change sides of the sewers 3 times, shoot once, and win. I wish there was a little bit more to it, but the alligator was also a one-shot kill in the original game, so at least it is consistent. Overall, I feel like the bosses are good. They give you a bit of a challenge until you figure them out, and then they are pretty easy and it's more about optimizing your strategy. So what comes next? I'm going to be doing a video for the 4th Survivor as well as the Ghost Survivor modes. Now in all those cases, the videos I'm going to be doing involve me beating those modes for the very first time. They are not optimized, and I kind of thought that would be the most fun way of presenting those. Because if they were optimized, those videos would only be a few minutes long, because the bonus modes are really not very long. Having recordings of all my first times beating those Like each video is about 10 minutes long with the exception of one. So yeah, I think I made the right call on that one. Plus, you get to see some of my blunders and poor playing and somehow overcoming that and beating the mode. So yeah, that should be pretty fun. And as far as difficulty is concerned for those modes, I went with whatever the standard default difficulty was. I did not adjust it at all, so I just went with what was recommended, really. And after those, I'll be busting out the rather lengthy S Plus playthroughs for each scenario. Now, for scenario 1, regardless of which character you're playing, you have to beat the game in under 2.5 hours. It does not matter how many times you die, but there is a limit on how many times you can save. And the limit is going to be 3 times. So for scenario 1 with Leon and Claire, I have to beat the game under 2.5 hours with only 3 saves and no dying. And for scenario 2, it's pretty much going to be the exact same thing except for the time requirement. For both of these scenario 2s, I have to beat the game in under 2 hours. So yeah, we're going to be running through those scenarios very quickly and with my most optimized gameplay, so that's going to be kind of interesting. I'll be sure to break down why I'm doing certain things and how I tried to mitigate the time, and if I do waste time, what exactly I'm wasting time on. Those are going to be kind of lengthy because I'm not going to break those up into individual episodes, so that should be a pretty fun just breakdown of my strategy and decision making. And hopefully there's some pretty good gameplay in there as well. But the opinions may vary. Anyway, I'm going to wrap things up here. Just thank you again for watching this playthrough. If you happen to catch every single episode for Claire and Leon, thank you for checking it out. Hopefully you really enjoyed it. It was definitely fun for me to make, so that'd be kind of cool. If you did enjoy it, feel free to check out the other stuff I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. I have also played through the story mode for the Resident Evil 1 remake, and I covered that by playing as both Chris and Jill in that game. And then I have playthroughs of other games like Crash Bandicoot and a bunch of Mortal Kombats, so if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, feel free to check it out. But yeah, thank you again for watching. Take care, and hopefully I see you next time.